Welcome back to the show, friends. We are here today with another special guest for one of our Impact Makers podcast. And today, Paul Fitzgerald is going to join us. He's an incredible mindset coach. And how we got connected, I'm going to give it a little bit of a story, then let you dive in here, Paul.
Yeah, sure.
You, I don't follow very many people on social media. To be completely honest with you, I unfollow more people than I follow probably, and to
Same.
keep my news feed as clean and as positive and as uplifting and as expansive as I possibly can. But I've been watching you. I've been doing that lurker thing, you know what I mean, for a few years now. And as of recent, you've been doing been on a bit of a stretch of just doing some live videos and just super authentic and connecting very powerful dots and just love your just overall energy and personality. So I'm like, I got to connect with this guy. I've been lurking in the darkness too long, and honestly, what made me feel guilty about it, Paul, was on your videos, you're like, no lurking, no spectating. If you're on here, you got to let me know, right? And I'm like, oh, he's
Yeah,
good, and he's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
He got me.
I can see you, man. I
I
can
can
see
see
you.
it. You can't
Even
hide
if you're
from
across
me.
the pond, I can still see you.
Yeah. So thank you for being here across the pond. What he means by that, he's from just outside of London. Yeah. What's the name
Yeah.
of the city you're from?
St Albans, Hertfordshire. It's about an hour outside London.
Awesome. So thank you for being here, Paul. We're excited to have you, man.
Pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so let's just dive in. Let's just dive right into the conversation that we're having with impact makers. Is the first question starts off with, what is the hole that you see in the world or the universe, right? That you feel like you can fill, that you can contribute, that there's a problem that you can solve that is uniquely yours, that you can see that nobody else can see, right? That you're going on a mission to fill. What is that hole?
So the whole is actually myself from 4 years ago. I'm helping that guy from 4 years ago. Um, shall I go straight in and describe the guy? Is that
Well,
the easiest way of?
yeah. Well, I guess what was the hole from 4 years ago then?
So
Yeah.
the whole, so the guy was he was depressed, he was frustrated, he was misaligned, he was upset, he was lost. I think lost is the biggest thing. Lost is probably the most common word that my guys sort of talk about, and it's kind of commonality there. Feeling of lost and just knowing that there's something more, there's something so much more to life. Probably, a guy in the second half of his life. I'm sort of 51 now. My typical guy is between 35 and 55, even though I've got sort of people at 60. But it's that guy who's, knows there's so much more. He's probably transitioning from something. He might be transitioning out of corporate. He may be trying a new side hustle. He's afraid as hell, man. He's afraid of hell of taking that jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet he's got this conflict inside of him, and he knows he needs to make the jump. He knows he needs to make these changes, and he's not prepared to sort of get to the end of his life with that regret. That whole thing of discipline or regret. Which way do you go? Discipline's hard, right? To be uncomfortable is hard. So he's afraid as hell, and he needs people like me, people like us, to sort of hold his hand, put your arm around him. I sometimes call myself the cut man as well, though. Like in a boxing match, the guy in the
Yeah.
corner, I'm sort of, sorting out his bruises, his cuts, giving him the pep talk, and saying, "Let's go, man. Here's the next round." So that's the guy. He might have a coping mechanism as a result. He's fed up of wearing all these different masks on a daily basis just to fit in. This whole thing of fitting in with everybody, and dancing to the tune. On the hamster wheel. So he's probably got a coping mechanism. He might drink too much. He might do other things, a few substances, and that's purely because he's so unhappy and so misaligned and so, as I say, just trying to fit in with everybody rather than And this is the whole thing that I embrace now myself personally, my guys, is just to be authentic, man. Just to be you, just to be the true you, and be proud, stand proud. And you know what? Sometimes it won't, you won't be popular with everybody, but that's okay. That's
Yeah.
all right.
I'll tell you, when I watch you, that shines through
yeah.
as true as anything. I actually was just like, God, he is just so true to himself. He's so authentic. He just shines right through. He don't give it a bleep, right? What would be a good word I could replace with that right there?
He doesn't give an S. Yeah, he
Yeah,
doesn't
give
give
an
it.
S. Yeah. So, and that's what I'm like. That's what inspires me. So, first question I have for you: where
Sure.
were you 10 years ago when I needed you? Because that everything that you just described was exactly what would have propelled me in my life. You know what I mean? What I was, and here's the thing: we don't know that's where we are typically, right? We don't know.
Yes.
I was in a
Yes.
transition. I was stuck. I was lost. There was a fear of regret. I was buffering, and we don't know when we're buffering. If we're buffering with substance or alcohol
Yeah.
or or sports or TV or food or what, we don't necessarily know that's what we're doing when we're
Yeah.
buffering. Gambling. I mean, it's
Yeah.
endless list,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
first of all, I'm upset with you that you weren't in my life 10 years. Right?
Do you know, when you said it, two things happened. I had the hairs down the back of my neck, but also I had a tinge of regret, even though that's not possible. How the hell would I have known, man? But yeah, absolutely, it is putting your hand out and helping that brother. It really is. It's and the person, the guy when you see them, and that's partly. I think when we first started talking, and I said to you the last time we talked, now we've talked a few times, I said the last time, it just feels like I'm jumping on a call with a brother, some brother from another mother almost from across the pond that, we've got a connection there somehow, some way. And, I didn't say that to you before, and I hope it's all right to say it on here, but I see the pain in your eyes as well, man. I do.
It's
I
been
do
there.
see it.
It's
Yeah.
been there before.
Yeah. 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 We know that. We know it. So
That's what gets you up in the morning and gets you going and
100%.
keeps you moving forward to
100%. And all I need, don't even need it, but what really inspires me is just that little response from a client or a person I'm supporting or a person I'm on the journey together with, just that little glimmer that their life has improved, that little 1% on the daily basis, just that little glimmer. It might be just as you know what, I managed to do my exercise today when I haven't done it for a week, or I managed to nail that promotion, or do that presentation, or we talked about it yesterday, or just to be able to look in the mirror and say, and this is a bit taboo for guys, is just to look in the mirror and say, I love you, I love myself again, and for guys, like when I ask the guys early doors in the early stages of, do you love yourself? And I say out of 10, out of 20, whatever, just to put a kind of a metric on it.
Sure.
And the answers I get is like, why would I?
Yeah.
Why would I? Number one, from what I've been through and how I feel about myself and all of that. And it's it's a big thing. And the whole inner game, as we've sort of discussed, we've probably only just touched the surface so far, but yeah.
The inner game of life. And I think it's starting with that idea of that. Let's open the possibility that you can love yourself.
Yeah.
Let's just open that up as
Well,
possible.
why shouldn't you? That's my reframe. Well, why shouldn't you? Who said you can't? Why are you not getting the permission? What's blocking your permission?
I'd like to say start with self-like before
Yeah.
you get to self-love.
Yeah.
Just start with something that you could be okay with about yourself.
Yeah.
And then take those little incremental shifts and then eventually the goal is to get to where you can love yourself unconditionally, not just when you're, crushing it at your workouts and doing well at work and all of these things, but to be able to first like yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with the brand new guys, I start them on one compliment a day, just one. And they find it very difficult because they're not used to it,
What do you mean they give themselves a compliment, or
they give themselves, yeah, and they're welcome to share it with me as well. It's that accountability mirror. When you look in the mirror first thing in the morning, we all do, don't we? We're all going to brush our teeth or wash or whatever, and I'm like, what's that first conversation you have? What's the inner voice saying as soon as you look in that mirror in the morning? And I let it roll for a couple of weeks and just see what the inner the inner voice is saying.
Yeah.
And it's mostly negative, you know, when they come on board. It's mostly, you know, I don't like what I look in the mirror, and, you know, and all of that sort of stuff. And then eventually you switch it over and you just say, okay, give yourself one compliment a day. And even that is the whole neurons, the wiring in there it's not normal for them, is it? It's they've been doing something very different for so long. And you know what? A lot of the guys, especially if it's you know, to do with weight loss and stuff like that, which is some of my guys, they haven't looked in a mirror for a long time. They don't look, like when they pass a shop or whatever and there is a reflection, they don't even look at it. So they don't actually know really what they truly look like. And absolutely, they're not having that they're avoiding that inner conversation.
Yeah.
Of whether they even like yourself, as you said, Heidi, there. Yeah.
A couple of things that you mentioned there were very I want to revisit. One was this idea of being lost.
Yeah.
I find that to be a positive thing, because when you're lost, the next natural progression is to be found. Right? Like that's what has to happen. We have to be lost to then find ourselves, right? And the fear of regret, I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to when they're in a current experience of life and it feels limiting or constricted or dense or whatever. It's natural for the mind to kind of like span the horizons forward and be like, oh, I don't want to regret at the end, or, you know, towards the end of this, or parenthood, or whatever it is, right? So taking those two words and kind of keeping those in front of mind, can you maybe describe a little bit about your experience and your transformation that led you to making this impact, where you have an incredible amount of clarity of how you guide people through those transitions in life, from fear to, or from, you know, self-loathing or doubt and judgment, to self-acceptance and self-love, and a stronger mindset in that reframing too, to be able to go out and also achieve and accomplish and do the things, right? So
yeah,
give us some feedback, give us some credibility on what is it that you have overcome, struggled with, and how were you lost, and how did you get through that?
So lost and regret, I think the two key words you were talking about. The regret one, I take them through the sort of narrative I take them through, or the story I take them through. I just launch. So a lot of my stuff is very straight talking, Heidi. You know, with the guys, a lot of my talking is kind of tough love with the guys, because what I find is that people like me, the more they are like me, they need to be told quite strongly, or spoken to quite strongly. Otherwise, they're not listening. You know, they're just hearing the same old noise that they've been hearing forever, and mostly from the people that, you know, do they likely trust? You know, are these people wearing masks all the time? As I said, you know, so that's kind of one of the first steps is that, of being able to have them strong conversations. So with the regret thing, what I do, I go straight to, you know, in your final days, you know, worst case scenario for this, we're not getting any younger, man, I would say, you know, because that's, you know, I coach men only at the moment. You know, when we get to the end of our days and we speak to our maker, whoever that is, if it's God, the higher self, whoever you want to call it, we get to our final days and you have that conversation, and he or she says, we had this highlight reel. We had this highlight reel of the amazing stuff that we had planned out for you. We had this all amazing stuff that we had planned out, and you effed it up. You messed it up. You know, you didn't do what we thought you were going to do, or what that we had planned for you.
Or you're designed to do then, huh? Yeah.
And to use that gift that we had for you, or those gifts that you have, you know, and I kind of launch straight into that with love again, and remind them that we're not getting any younger, and, you know, you've clearly come to me because you want to change. You've expressed that thought or idea or intention, and I'm just kind of sort of speeding up the process a little bit and just saying, look, you're definitely in the right place. You know, I've been there, etc. And I'll, you know, my arm is round you. And while I think of it, actually, I do go off track a little bit, so you'll have to rein me in sometimes. But so two things just came to my head of, I say to them, would you prefer a drill sergeant or a guardian angel in this process? You know, and what they normally say is a bit of both.
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah. Now and again, I need to be called out on my BS.
Yeah.
But I also need that guardian angel who's always there, forever supporting me. You know.
Yeah. Protect.
Yeah. And they're the two things. So that's kind of the regret conversation. And you know, ultimately they know they know that they're going to regret so many things if they don't make these changes.
So out of curiosity, for your personal experience, what was something you experienced as a fear of regret? Let's say, so you said it was 4 years ago. What were you going through? Give me a clearer picture of what you were going through 4 years ago. You have a weight loss journey, right? Do you mind getting back to that? Because what's gonna make people trust us and realize that we can help them is when they see themselves in us. They realize, oh, this person's been there. I can just tell you that I've been there. I can tell you that I've had, periods and long periods of depression and anxiety. I can tell you that I've overcome massive transition in life and identity loss and a lack of meaning and, overcome marital issues. I mean, I can tell you I've done all that, but when I actually share my story, how I did that, you know what I mean? That makes them be like, okay, saddle up. I'm calling this Paul guy. Like, give me more of what the 4 year ago guy who needed you. What's he going through? What was he going through?
So basically my story, right? Is that what you're asking? Please. Yeah. So, I've not gone here for a while.
Yeah, right.
But let's do it.
I just did this last week, so I'm feeling holding space for you, my brother.
Yeah. I've got that podcast saved. That's coming. I'm definitely going to watch. And do you know what? I deliberately didn't watch it before this because I didn't want to sort of use your language or use your talk or sort of kind of tap into your journey almost. I wanted to purely do mine, and then actually watch the podcast maybe tomorrow and compare,
there you go,
the sort of finer details.
All right, so let's put the two paradigms up side by side, see what happens.
So the big thing for me, I've had conflict for a lot of my life, right? I'm quite a shy introvert person, actually, and how I know this is that we used to do these personality profile tests and all this sort of stuff, and I was in senior management in the corporate world. Everything from the outside was rosy, good salary, good car, all of that stuff. But I now call it, golden handcuffs. I felt like literally my identity, my being, my everything was given away to live this life and live this life of BS, actually, live this life that wasn't truly authentically me. And I kind of knew that. I talk about sort of lower self and higher self. And for me, it was my inner narrative. It was my lower self was screaming at me the whole time. And when I'm saying screaming, trust me, it was like a continuous second conversation or another conversation within my head all day, every day. And it wasn't nice. Like I was talking about when the guys look in the mirror or when they start to tell me what that inner voice is talking about. So I had the inner conflict for many years that I needed to change so many things, and then when it came to a head, I'm just going to say I wanted to die.
Yeah,
I wanted to die. I thought it was the only option. I couldn't see a way out. It was dark. It was gloomy. I didn't know who to turn to, what to do. I just knew that I got to a certain point where this can't continue. Literally, this just can't continue. I was 127 kgs, I think, in your language. We talk stones, Heidi. We're what are we? It's 20 stones in England. That would be, so it's 127 kilos, which is like 280 pounds, something like that. And I'm now hovering around 100 kilos. So I was that guy. I was that big, huge guy who dwarfed the room when he walked in. He eclipsed the room. He was fat, and at the same time, this conflict, he still thought he was fit. He still thought he could keep up with the younger people and you know, do his thing on the field of dreams, as we call it, where we were training and all of that. So I was doing these good things. I was supposedly keeping healthy, you know, with the exercise and trying to run. I think the funniest thing was trying to run on a treadmill. You know, number one, I was probably nearly breaking the treadmill, the size of me, you know. But I was living this lie. I was living this conflict, as I say. Like, on the one hand, I'd be doing that. I'd be doing all this different training. And on the other hand, I would be drinking up to 2 bottles of wine most nights, basically. And what that was, with hindsight, is a great thing. That was basically the coping mechanism of living the life that I just didn't want to be living, you know. But then ultimately what then comes, you have to take ownership, right? You have to, you know, if there's going to be change happening, you have to, as I say, look in the mirror and you know, have them strong conversations with yourself. And so I was massively overweight, massively depressed, suicidal, as I said. And then this culminated where I was driving to our fitness camp first thing in the morning. It was like 5:30 a.m. I was driving my car really fast. To give you an idea, it was in a 30-kilometer zone, and I was driving over 100. There was nobody else on the road because it was first thing in the morning, so it wasn't, you know, there was nobody else under you know, not safe. It was just me. It was purely me on this journey of solo self-destruction. Tears were running down my face. Total frustration, as I say, didn't know a way out. And that was my lowest point. At that point, I arrived at the boot camp. I rang the Samaritans. I'm not sure if you guys have got the Samaritans there. It's the same. It's basically a charity organisation which you ring up if you're feeling that way, if you're feeling suicidal or whatever. So I rang them. I had a conversation. I can't really remember what was said, you know, but that was my lowest straw after all these different other episodes that had gone on. And it was just suddenly in that moment. And, you know, I'm not hugely spiritual or hugely religious, although I am, you know, to a degree. And something really powerful happened. It felt like a thunderbolt. It's the only way I could describe it. It felt like a thunderbolt came from above, and it was like my body rocked in that moment. You know, it was like so powerful, and it was like, that's it. From this point, you need to change all this stuff. You need to turn all this stuff around. You know. And then cut a long story short, you know, I got around the right people, went on this journey of self-discovery, personal development. I immersed myself in all the personal development stuff I could find. Started with Tony Robbins, actually, your guy over there. I did UPW in that year, 2019. And that really helped, you know, that UPW event, day 3, which is the Dickens process, which is quite a powerful, I call it like the emotional exorcism, where you basically go through this process. And in London, there was like 12,000 people in the room, and it felt like, you know, there was screaming, there was wailing, there was, you know, as I say, the emotional exorcism is the best way I can describe it. So that was part of the process, and I just went on this journey of self-discovery, and as you were talking, Heidi, about being able to look in the mirror, number one, and then being able to have them inner conversations and being able to face up to my reality and being able to, you know, but quite soon in the process, I started to be proud of the changes I was making. You know, I left corporate world. I didn't really have a plan B. I had no idea what I was going to do, if I'm honest. I gave up drinking at the same time as well, gave up alcohol. As I say, I was drinking up to 2 bottles of wine most nights at that point, sometimes more. Gave that up at the same time, weirdly, and I can't remember which decision was first, but they kind of both came together, and it was almost like if I didn't have to wear this mask every day, I now don't need alcohol anymore. You know what I mean? So both kind of managed to drop both together, and then I lost 38 kilos on the journey quite quickly, just purely of taking care of myself and putting into place all these tools, tips and hacks that I was picking up on this journey. And for about 9 months, I was pumping all the stuff into a laptop. Didn't really know why. It was more of a journal, really, I guess. And then I was, you know, by the 9-month period, I was like, well, this is what I'm here for. This is my gift. You know, this is my passion. This is my mission. And a lot of it is driven by my mum, so we lost our mum 6-7 years ago to cancer. But she lived a good life. But what I would say is that she was the best coach that I ever saw, and she wasn't a coach. That wasn't her job, you know. But it was the typical Irish family. It was all conversations over the kitchen table, you know, with relatives. Whoever's got a problem almost would sit in front of my mum for 10-15 minutes, have a conversation, and they'd be leaving with a big smile on their face. And whatever that issue was, just, you know, getting it out of their system, they'd aired it. And she's come into my journey as well. And she's part of my inspiration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after the 9 months, as I said, I then just started coaching, and I just found my guy. I just then knew, and quite early on, I was already being pushed rather than running or trying to get to whatever destination it is, or, you know, seeking our passion or purpose or mission, or however you want to describe it. Quite early on, I felt like almost physically that I was being pushed from behind, and it was like, well, you know what? Now I don't have a choice. It's not even my choice anymore. This is what I'm here for. And that's it, really. You know, in essence, and I'm now 4.5 years down the line. January 2019 was when this happened. The first week of January 2019. And that's it. And I've been helping that guy ever since, mostly on a one-to-one basis. I think I discussed it with you, Ryan, that I mostly love one-to-one. I love the transformational, individual transformation, and almost living and breathing that guy's journey with him. I'm there with him, you know. And as I say, mixture of drill sergeant, kick his ass sometimes and call him out on his BS, because we've all, you know, he will do that. He's
Make sure you're not sort of diddling around, right?
He's a slippery guy. I don't know if you'd say that over there, but
he's sneaky. Sneaky.
Yeah, he's a slippery geezer. He's
the ego is a cunning, slippery thing, right? So
yeah,
I love that you talked about not having a choice, like this idea we get to a place where choice gets removed, right?
Yeah.
So kind of two layers of questioning here is number one, and I want you to answer this like, well, there's like a one thing, all right? Because you gave up booze, you turn towards the light of saying, okay, I'm going to find this self-love. I'm going to start to, you know, self-develop. But like legitimately what we do know within transformation, there has to be some sort of a sacrifice. We have to let go of something. And if you can think of one thing beyond the booze that you let go of, you made a sacrifice that you made to be able to make this possible, what would that one thing be?
I would say my old identity. It's the easiest way I would describe it. I'm now, well, there's two trains of thought. I'm either now living completely authentic to who I always was, and actually it was society and my environment and everything that have tainted me, or, you know, call it got in my way, or I've now just become the more evolved version of the true authentic self. You know, so I would say that I've given up the old identity, and that was hard. That, you know, as we both know, as we all know, it's you know, it's
a natural thing to go through the identity crisis. I as well.
Yeah.
Like, come back and ask that question. Who am I? Right. I'm not this, I'm not that. And so now I get to reconstruct who that version is.
Yeah. And that's a really beautiful thing. And that, I just feel privileged now. I feel privileged to be able to do that at 51. You know, okay. There was a tinge, you talked about regret earlier. There was a tinge of regret back in the day, a year ago, 2 years ago. Why didn't I do it sooner? Sure. But now I'm just from a place of gratitude and like I'm privileged to do what I do. I love what I do, you know, and that's it.
So you had this like really powerful kind of moment of revelation of, this is what I'm here to be doing. This is the guy, the previous version of me. I want to be in his corner, helping him out. I want to
Yeah.
be that person that I needed in my journey. So
Yeah.
my question for you is, how do you stay connected to that, like on a daily basis? Because staying connected to your vision takes a lot of mundane action.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you do to stay connected to the work that you're here to do when, let's face it, some days we wake up and we don't feel like doing
Oh
things?
yeah. 100%. I could answer it in two ways. I could talk about, the habits, the rituals, the lifestyle, the identity. I could answer it that way. And I could be saying that I have built up those processes and those disciplines to make sure that I keep on track. But I would see that more as my personal sort of journey, as it were. How do I keep on track to my mission? Very simple. I speak to a client. So all I need to do. I make that connection again, and very soon within the conversation, I get reminded why I'm here.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Honestly,
you do the work by connecting with others and coaching, and that's
yeah,
what keeps reminding you, like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, that's what I'm here for. And trust me, I do have bad days still. I've had a bad day in the last week, really bad day, where I just wanted to go back to bed. I wanted to ditch it off. I just said, you know what, I'm feeling, and sometimes you can't explain it, and I check I sort of watch my stats on my phone and stuff, and what it had told me, whether it's highly scientific and accurate or not, but it told me my REM level was really low, and that's how I felt. I just felt that my brain was just not firing all cylinders, and it was just wasn't kind of doing what I wanted it to do, and it felt like chemically deficient, maybe. Now you can't explain that, or you can't flick a switch in that moment. You can change state, as we know, the whole changing state with a bit of exercise and nature and all those things. But yeah, but my main thing is showing up on a daily basis, no matter what. Stay in the arena. We've kind of talked about that. Just stay in the arena, man. And one of my phrases was, personal development isn't a spectator sport. You've got to stay in there, and sometimes it's really not easy. Trust me. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
I
It
have a
does.
follow-up question to that too,
Sure.
that just came to my mind.
Sure.
That past version of yourself, if you could tell him like one sentence, one piece of advice, what would you say to him? He's in that dark place where he's driving to go get to that boot camp and
yeah. I've got your back, number one. But number two, there is another way.
Yeah.
There is another way. There's always another way. There is light there at the end of the tunnel, or whatever. There is. You can't see it. You may not be able to see it now, but I can assure you that there is.
I heard when you said I got your back, I heard you're not alone.
Yeah.
It feels lonely when you're in that place.
100%.
Yeah, you're not alone, and there is another way. Just let me shine the light for you, and then you're going to walk the path.
Yeah. So I talk about the hero's journey, where he's got the backpack on, and I might have the torch and the compass and all of that sort of stuff, and and you're almost going on an adventure together, right? And and I say it quite early on with the new guys, you're a hero, and they're like, what? How can I be? I can't even look in the mirror and all of that. And I'm like, well, no, you're a hero, because you're now taking this journey of transformation that most people don't have the courage to take, or they're too busy, dithering, to use that word again.
We use the hero's journey to illustrate as well. We love the hero's journey. It's about the unknown and the death and the rebirth and the whole 9 yards, man.
Yeah. And also, like, I would say that we can do it multiple times as well. I would say, even on this mini journey of 4 or 5 years, I think I've been around numerous times.
You can see it show up even on the daily, right?
Yeah.
On the daily. This podcast right here with the hero's journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes courage. It takes courage to look in the mirror and face those things that you
100%.
don't want to see within yourself. And we all have it. We all have things that we we want to be different about ourselves and our life. And it does take courage to look at that. But it's amazing that there are people like you out there who are saying, hey, like, let me just help you hold up the mirror a little bit. Let me just reflect back to you, but let me reflect back to you more the truth of who
Yes.
you actually are, that you are a hero, and that
Yeah.
you have the power to change your circumstances, and there's a different way. So I think it can feel lonely when you're looking in the mirror by yourself and trying to do that work, but to have someone else like yourself who says, I've been there, let me hold the mirror up for you. Let me tell you what I'm seeing here, and maybe you can see yourself a little bit differently.
100%. Yeah. And I've got some of the guys, everyone's different. And that's the big thing as well. You know, I've certainly learned that on this journey, but some of the guys sort of say, you know, things like, what would Fitzy do in this moment on the journey, you know, because they know so damn well that I've been, you know,
Yeah.
I've been there. I've got a very large Irish family as well, so I've seen a lot over the years. So, you know, so what I haven't sort of personally experienced myself, and I was the baby of the family, like 7 kids, big
Yeah.
Irish family, and I was the youngster, and so I've seen a lot, been through a lot, and yeah, it's yeah, and there's always another way. That's sort of the key message with it, you know, providing just get up, show up, you know, providing you've got enough fight to get up and just take that one step, you know, that one little 1% on a daily.
1% shift. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paul, this has been just a perfect conversation. I appreciate you going down that path and revisiting that. I know that's not easy, but it's important for others to hear what makes us relatable, and that we did it, that we got over the top of that struggle, that obstacle. We're on the other side, and we're still in the arena. So thank you, and thank you for just showing up and being you, man. Thank you for
Always.
And
well, I have no choice. I think I've said that.
You got no choice.
I have no choice with that as well, you know. And as I say, we can't please everybody, but the people, our crew, our people, you know, we know them very well, and you know, we're here with them, right? So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited to continue our connection and continue to learn from you. How do people, if they listen to this podcast here, because I know it's one of the things that I've recognized is that people in the States love your overall approach and energy. And I think some of it, I told you before, is because half the time I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because you say little words where I'm like, what the hell is dithering mean? He's calling people a wanker. What is that? Which that's what pulls me in. Like, I gotta figure out what he's talking about. And it's fun to listen to. The accent's fun, but beyond all that, you're incredibly talented, huge heart, all those things. So how do people find you, man?
So the main thing is Facebook, if I'm honest. That's where I do most of my, if you want to say, content, or just putting my message out there is on Facebook. I've got Facebook groups. I've got one for booze, actually, one for beat. It's called Beat the Booze, and then I've got another one which is Fitzy Coaching for Men. So that's the easiest way. I've got an Instagram account as well. I've got LinkedIn as well, but the main place is Facebook, as I say. Yeah.
We'll definitely add a link for your Facebook and your other
Sure.
platforms so people can connect with you. And
yeah,
I've enjoyed I haven't been following you as long as Ryan, but I've enjoyed some of the live videos and things that I've been able to see. And so I was excited to have this conversation with you. So
yeah, been a pleasure. I loved your questions as well. There were a level of depth to the questions, which is great.
So here he comes, Fitzy to the US.
Let's go, man.
We're
Let's
willing,
go.
We're open for your arrival. So
yeah, well, he's half of his clients are American anyway. So yeah, it's kind of naturally just evolved, really, and honestly, like, immediately there's a connection anyway. There isn't this, and we actually have a laugh now about the different words that we use, and things like that, and and that's it. But we certainly understand 99% of what the other one said, and that's enough, really, is it? You know, so
We're all human, and
yeah,
you're being authentic. So
yeah,
why it
Yeah,
works.
that's the energy that translates no matter what words we're using and what language or ways that we describe our human experience. It's that energetic
yeah,
expression that transfers, and that is the point of attraction for people to go, okay, this guy knows something that I need to know. So
yeah.
thank you again for coming and sharing your energy with us. We really
Pleasure.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah. It's been quick. I thought it was gonna be longer than that, but there you go.
Time goes by fast when you're having fun. So
Yeah.
we thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And if you're tuning into this, and reach out to Fitzy if you feel like there's somebody or yourself that could benefit from his services. So again, thank you for your time.